Today we're going to be going over user preferences. So with user preferences, you can configure your individual preferences to better suit how you work in the system. This is just like changing the settings on your iPhone. And you can also change some preferences set up by your administrator. So there's two ways to access user preferences. The first way is you can go to this drop-down menu, go to Company, and then go to the Setup tab and go to My Preferences. And the second way is you can just click on your login name at the top right corner and you'll see My Preferences. So this first section is general information. This is just your login info and how they identify you. The next section is security preferences. So inactivity duration logout, this is the set amount of time your session can remain inactive before it shows a pop-up warning about logging you out due to inactivity, and that can be bypassed. So let's say you step away from your desk or you switch to another tab, depending on the time set, it will log you out. The session duration logout, you can set the total amount of time you can work in the system, regardless of whether it's active or not, before it logs you out. So we recommend setting this to the maximum of 12 hours. That way you can complete a full workday without being logged out. But make sure that you save your work so you don't lose anything important. And desktop timeout notifications, there will be a highlighted green link here that you can click to enable notification to appear whenever your session is about to time out. Email notifications, so you can add signature information to the bottom of your system generated emails and select activities you want to be notified about. You can also stop any notifications that you're receiving by deselecting the associated checkbox. So this My Email signature, you can input your name, title, email address, your phone number to be added to the emails that Intacct generates for you. You can check these boxes to receive an email when a report has been processed outside of Intacct. You can check this box to receive an email when an assignment is assigned to you as a reminder for pending assignments, or if you are the checklist owner and the status of an assignment has changed. If a recurring journal entry fails, you can check this box to receive a notification, but you do need to be a business user with admin privileges. So requests for approval, you can always go in the system and check if you have anything to approve or check the status, but you do have the option to be notified via email if you're not in the system frequently. All of these do require approvals and or email notifications to be turned on in AP or GL configuration. There is some of these you can set a minimum amount for payment request notifications. So let's say you want to limit your email notifications to the most important by entering a dollar amount. So for example, to limit notifications to request over $1,000, just type in 1,000 without the dollar sign. This individual, you can receive an email each time there's a payment request for approval, or consolidated, you can reduce your incoming emails by grouping related request notifications into one email. You can also receive an email when you have submitted a vendor or a payment that's been approved or declined. And again, you can choose between individual or consolidated for payment. Approval delegation. So if you are out of office, you can delegate your approval responsibilities to approve transactions. The section only appears, though, if the configuration for GL or purchasing is enabled for approval delegation and you have the approver permission. You can have multiple delegate approvals, so you need to check the type of approval request to delegate. And please note that any approvals that have been delegated while you're out of office with your delegate, even if your out of office period ends before the delegate has approved or declined the transaction, it will remain with the delegate. Your delegate is assigned in your organization's configuration for GL or purchasing. So you can enter the start date, the time period for approval delegation, and approvals will only be delegated during the specified time period, so you don't need to return to this page to turn it off. On-screen messages, so you can check these boxes to have a view a message when you make changes, and then try to navigate away from the window without saving your changes. You can have a precautionary alert when you try to delete a record. This one, you can select this option if you want your messages to appear on a separate page rather than on the top of the page that you're viewing. For display, you can personalize aspects of your display across and within applications. So your start page, you can choose which application you want to appear after you first log into the system. So right now it's on default, a home page, and that gives you easy access to read about the quarterly releases. But another popular one is choosing dashboards, and you're able to select a specific dashboard from a drop-down list if you have multiple. You can also choose if you want to use the default color or choose your own color for entity color. So here I've chosen different colors for each entity. You can choose for menu navigation whether you want it to click on something or hover over it. You can change the menu order on the menu bar, so you can change this order. You can put your most popular up top. You can do alphabetical order. Don't forget, you can also bookmark a page and it'll show up in your bookmarks. And then you can also star and favorites tasks and it'll show up in your favorites too. Okay, personalized page defaults. So records per page, you can select the number of lines you want to display on the page before having to click next. But one thing to note is you can change this number to accommodate your monitor's resolution and line speed. So if you have slow internet connection, I would keep it on a lower amount because if you increase that, it might take more time to download additional data. Items per page, you can select the number of lines to display in pop-up pages. Items per drop-down, select the number of list items to display in drop-down menu list. Per transaction, select the number of rows displayed when adding a new transaction on multi-line edit pages. Set the number of blank lines used for splitting the transaction across 2 or more account department location combinations. So you can always split the transaction across at least 2 accounts before you need to add more lines. But if you regularly split transactions across more than 2 lines, then you can enter that number here. You can select the number of rows that you can view before you hit next. You can choose if you want the system to place a decimal point before the last 2 numbers entered. Otherwise, if you don't check it, it'll place a decimal point at the end of the number entered and then add 2 zeros. You can select if you want the system to anticipate and display suggestions as you type. Display all fields per line item. Only select this if you want to see a line item in all its details on one long line. If you want to show the details area when selecting line items, you can select that. And then you can also select to use your enter key, just like using the tab key. You can select to display information on a window when you hover over a selection icon. And this window will display a description of the icon's features, or you can have it auto collapse. You can save time in attaching files by autofilling the folder field anywhere attachments can be added. Personalized split view, you can enable split view so you can view an attachment side by side with the record details on the same window. And then check preferences. So this has probably already been set up and tweaked by us, but you can move the check up and down the page. You can upload your signature, but if you upload your signature, that will override any signature on the checking account. Font sizes for checks are fixed. I know that's something that people want to change. You can verify your printer alignment for checks by allowing you to print a PDF test page, and that contains detailed instructions on the adjustment process. So general info, this is just like selecting your language and time, and your thousand separator and decimal separator. Report filters, you can hide inactive values. So this will only show the accounts and dimensions that are active and doesn't display inactive values. You can manage your bookmarks. Like I said earlier, you can bookmark this page and refer back to it. And then you can also set other users' preferences. So if you're an admin, you can set your own preferences as well as others. So to do this, you go to Company, Admin, Users, and then you'll click on Preferences. And you can control things such as the user's start page, menu order, check signature, and more, but you cannot change a user's password or their security question and answer. One thing I want to show, so you can click on these question marks and it'll give you more information about the preference. You can also, if you need more help, you can go to this help and support, go to help on this page, and you can read about all of the preferences and more information about them. This is like Google for Intacct. It's very neat. Make sure to check quarterly releases for new user preference features, and make sure you save any changes if you update your preferences, save them and refresh your screen. Our next Feature Friday is next Friday, March 21st, and it covers Intacct Collaborate. And our next webinar is April 10th, and it covers AP automation with purchasing. Do we have any questions, Teresa?
We did have one question. Thank you first, Brooke, for going through all that. That's a lot of information. We did have one question, kind of just in general, and I'll start in the answer. The question came in was kind of, what most commonly do we see users changing in these preferences, because there are a lot of things you can set in here. So I'll go first and tell you what I change almost every time I log into a particular client or environment. And Brooke, I don't know if you want to add to that. You may change the same things, but I always go change that list view setting, because like Brooke said, it defaults to 20, and then you have to hit next to go through the page, and next and next and next. And I would prefer to set that higher and then scroll down the page. So I always go set that and change that. So that's a big one that we commonly see. Obviously, the check printing is pretty common. We see that, but that's controlled by for the people that are printing checks. So if you're not involved in that process, you obviously wouldn't do that. So pretty much that records per page, and then setting those delegates and those email preferences. That's a big one that we commonly see change too, is what emails do you want to get notifications from, because that can be a lot in the system if you're getting notifications on everything, or if you're not getting notifications on something that you need. So that's probably the two most common things I would say, and the things that I change most on mine when I log in. So Brooke, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I definitely changed that records per page to the highest amount.
Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.